Hey guys, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Podcast. Welcome to another edition of ReWatching Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. Today we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 20, Nothing Personal. For those of you guys who are new to the video series, I'm just going to be giving you the Wikipedia plot summary for this episode, then giving you guys my thoughts about the episode, along with some foreshadowing and Easter egg elements I noticed in the episode. So let's just dive right in with that plot summary so you have some idea of what happened in this episode. So the Wikipedia plot summary for episode 20 of season 1 says, Fitz finds a message left by S.h.i.e.L.D. informing them that Ward is a member of Hydra. Hill and a special forces team led by Talbot arrive at the base where Hill tries to convince Coulson's team to surrender themselves. However, upon hearing of Ward's betrayal, Hill decides to aid the team directly in their hunt. S.h.i.e.L.D. leads Ward to the diner where she met Mike Peterson in the very first episode and secretly tips off the police. She reveals that she knows Ward's secret and escapes while he fights with the police, but she is captured by Deathlock. As Ward tries to fly the bus away, he is confronted by Hill and Triplet, who stall him long enough for Coulson to sneak on board. Coulson frees S.h.i.e.L.D. and they escape. The team retreats to a hotel where S.h.i.e.L.D. reveals she has left a trap in the hard drive, and Hill departs for DC while May returns and shows Coulson the contents of a flash drive she recovered from his false grave. The file is a video of Coulson himself, who was apparently the head of Project S.h.i.e.L.D., informing Fury that the project must be shut down to its horrific side effects. So that's the plot summary for you guys. A bunch happened in this episode. We finally get that big reveal of who was behind Project S.h.i.e.L.D., who was the one in charge of this research, and it was Coulson himself, and somehow his memory had been altered. We already know it was altered to give him that S.h.i.e.L.D. memory, so now we'll learn that it was altered even more to make him forget that he was the one who had done all the research and ran it and got it all set up all together. And I just love that big reveal at the end. I love how they reveal it, how they tease it in this episode. You know, you get May finding the flash drive at first, seeing that it's some kind of video file, but we don't get to see what it is until the very end of the episode when she reveals it to Coulson himself, and he's just watching a video of himself, and I love his reaction to it. That just perfect, because that's just such a great reaction to it, because let's be honest, how would anybody react to that, seeing a video of yourself that you don't remember making, and you're just like, well, I just told myself. So I really like that reveal. I like that we finally get the reveal of S.h.i.e.L.D. telling Ward she knows that he's Hydra, and them having that confrontation, that argument over like, how could you betray us, Ward? How could you pretend to be our friend? And he's like, it's nothing personal, it's just business. And I really like that kind of dynamic that we got between them, and that final reveal of, you know, I like that message, the way he met. Sorry guys. I like the message that S.h.i.e.L.D. had left for the team. I like how she did it, hiding it in that transitioning photo, and that Fitz was smart enough to notice that they were different. It's a pretty big stretch, you know. Like, what if he hadn't noticed that it changed, you know? Like, it's a pretty big leap, but I like that it worked, and I just enjoyed that little element. I thought it was cleverly done. So some of the things I've written down, we get Maria Hill in this episode. I really like that she's heavily featured in this episode, that big tie to the MCU movies, and of course she's just great. I love her from How I Met Your Mother. She's even better in the MCU because you get that same sass, but she gets to kick a little ass, and that's what I love. Little Colby Smulders does a great job, and I really like her throughout this whole episode. I like at the beginning how she's on the phone with Pepper before May approaches her, which is really fun. I like how you kind of get that. You get to learn a little bit more about her transition in between the movies, in a sense, because she's not a main character in the MCU movies, but she's a pretty big secondary character, having popped up in a few of the movies. Avengers. Is it every one of the Avengers? Was it just the Caps? I can't remember which of all of the ones she made an appearance in. I know she first made an appearance in the first Avengers movie and a couple since then, but I like that kind of tie-in. We kind of learn how she's transitioned over, why she had to transition over a little bit more, and I like that we get a little more background on that she's not super happy about it, but she's going with it. We also kind of get that she thinks that Fury's still dead, but I never believed that, and Coulson's like, and Coulson and May both are just like, I don't believe you. We don't believe you. We know you're keeping secrets. That's all you do, Maria. You keep secrets for Fury, and we respect that because that's what you do, but you do it, so don't deny that you do it. And I really like that. So I like that tie-in. What else do I have written down? So yeah, Simmons ends up finding Curb's body, which is a little unfortunate for her, but that's a little cool little thing. Fitz finds Sky's message of Ward is Hydra. Yep, I mentioned that already. Yep, Sky and Ward have to go to the diner from the first episode, which I like that little tie. I like that she thought of the idea of, oh, I've done this before. I had to GPS locked it before, so obviously it's a good choice. But then it's actually reality. She has it locked to altitude, which also makes sense because they're always flying in the bus. So I like that she kind of was able to do that kind of what's it called, like that diversion with it by being like, oh no, it's here, but it's not really. That deception of Ward. It didn't work for very long, but ends up working for a little bit. I like that we get Deathlock back. I always love seeing Mike Pearson show up, even though in this episode he's a dick. But he does shock Ward a little bit, which is a little fun. But he still, threatens Sky a little bit. I have conflicted feelings about it. I'm glad eventually we get him coming back to the good side once we get rid of, the clairvoyant and all that fun stuff. What else do I have written down? Coulson figures out why Ward came back. I like how he pieced it together. I like that it wasn't quite as obvious as, just him being like, oh yeah, this is the obvious reason. I like that they had to piece it a little together and he figured it out, reasoned with it, and that's how he ended up tracking down Ward and Sky. What else do I have written down? Okay, Talbot. Again, we get to see Talbot. I always like when Talbot pops up, especially these first few appearances. This is him and Coulson having that kind of fun, like sparring between the two of them. I just enjoy that dynamic between them. And Talbot obviously becomes a bigger part of the show as seasons go on, especially that last season. So it's just fun to see these first small little appearances. Like he was in 2 scenes in this one, but they're still fun. I like that guy, Nathan something or something. Nathan P is the actor's name, I believe. I should have maybe looked that up too. It's probably right in front of me. Nope, it's not on the list I'm seeing in front of me. Anyways, that's not important. What else do we have? May finds the USB at Coulson's false grave. I like that we see that she had to dig it up. It's kind of fun. You could have had it in any way, but she had to literally go to his grave. I like that. Furies took advantage of the fact that, oh, we gotta put a gravestone up. Everybody thinks that Coulson's dead anyways. I'm gonna take use of his grave and hide some information in that. Maybe there could have been more stuff in there, but I thought that was a cool little connection. What else do I have written on my notes? Mike Peterson, yep, mentioned him. I always like seeing him show up, but I'm also conflicted until he comes back to the good side. Ward and Sky get to yell it out about, all that's kind of happened. She finally gets to express the feelings she kind of had in the last episode, but wasn't exactly able to show at first because she was trying to keep her cards held close. She wasn't trying to reveal herself, trying to go along with Ward at first, but then eventually she's like, I can't keep doing this, can't keep letting you drag me around. And so I like that she found the opportunity to do that, or to get away from that, I should say. What else do I have? No, a lot of this is I mentioned in. I like that he used that Coulson and Sky escaped the bus by using Lola. I love that car. I want one of them for myself. It doesn't necessarily have to have the hover pack or the hover jets or the boosters, whatever, thrusters, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't have to fly, but I would obviously prefer if it does, because I just want a flying car. Screw traffic. But what else do I have written down? Okay, just a few lines I'd last written down. There is no more S.h.i.e.L.D. anymore. That was a line from Maria Hill, which I think's it's a little bit interesting because we do kind of learn later on in next season or later this season, is next couple episodes we learn, or maybe next season we learn that there is another fraction of S.h.i.e.L.D. who calls themselves the real S.h.i.e.L.D., made up of some of those other higher ups, and they see Coulson kind of as this rogue element at that point. So I kind of find it interesting that Maria Hill doesn't know about that, or she's not playing her, like she's not saying anything about it. That was just an interesting thing I thought, or an interesting line she mentioned. I like that Coulson kind of always forgets that he's dead to the Avengers. He says to say hi to Stark at first, but then he's like, oh wait, he still thinks I'm dead. Never mind. And so I always like that kind of little joke anytime we have that kind of one of those connections to, like we had that when Lady Sif was around and he's like, oh, say hi to Thor. Oh wait, Thor still thinks I'm dead. I'll tell him myself when I see him next. So I like those little kind of jokey ties whenever we get an MCU connection. And Coulson, right? But another thing I had, that Fitz and Simmons are getting closer at the end of the episode. We kind of see that they're starting to bond even more. They haven't said it out loud yet, but we're starting to see that they're both realizing that they're more than friends. And I always just love that development. It's so So adorable. I usually hate love stories in anything, but these two are too adorable not to love. Who doesn't love Fitzsimmons? Like, come on. Come on. I love these guys. But anyways, what else do I have left? Oh, that she left a little present on when I decrypted the drive. That's about the little Easter egg that we mentioned before, that she had left some kind of trap on the hard drive that she left with Ward and Deathlock, who they were with the information about Tahiti in that research. So that was kind of an interesting thing because I cannot remember exactly what that is. I'm guessing it's just kind of some kind of tracker, if I remember correctly, for them to track back to his base, but I'll discover that in the next episode, guys. Let me figure that out on my own when I watch it. Okay, last thing I had written, that just May comes back. We already mentioned that. She comes back. I like that she wanted to rebuild her trust with Coulson, so she's like, okay, you wanted answers, Coulson? I went out and got the answers. I told you I didn't know them, but I went out and I worked and I got them to prove to you. Ward didn't do nothing. Ward just betrayed you for real. So you know, let's just forget about our little tuffle. So I like that little, you know, that kind of motivation behind May going to get that information for Coulson, and Coulson just kind of being like, yeah, you know what, Ward was worse. Yeah, show me the video, let's do this. And he kind of gets over it pretty quickly at the end. But that's all I have written down, all my thoughts for this episode in particular, guys. Be sure to let me know in the comments below if there's anything I missed that you liked in particular. Thanks again for joining me, guys, and have a good one.